evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular council meeting for May 20th, 2025. We will jump right into this, probably a shorter agenda today. May I please, does anybody have anything to add or change on the agenda? No. Okay, so now I'll ask for a mover and a second to approve the agenda.
I'm going to motion to approve the agenda as posted.
Thank you, Councillor Paquette. Second. Thank you, Councillor Slager. All in favor? Okay, that passes. Thank you. Next up, we need to adopt the committee of the whole, the minutes from the committee of the whole meeting for May 6th, 2025. Can I have a mover and second, please?
I'm going to motion to adopt the minutes.
I'll second the motion. Thank you, Councillor Slager, Councillor Bucket. Comments on the minutes, questions? Okay, seeing none, call the question, all in favor? Okay, that passes, thank you. So next up, we have the open payable in the amount of $382,734. Can I have a mover in a second?
I'll make a motion to pay the open payables as posted.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
63248. That's one. Oh, is that the fire? What is this from? The Association Fire and Safety? 148,000.
Sorry, which number was that?
That's the 63248 Associated Fire and Safety.
Yeah, so that's the SCBA's that was your capital purchase. They actually came in at just shy of $80,000 less than what we had budgeted.
Okay, and then the next one I had was 63264. 634, and that one is What's Like Foods 1500.
That was food for a bunch of events that have been taking place. So there was a potting thing, there was numerous events that we've been hosting that the bills finally came in for.
Then 63273, and that's all bar stainless products.
Yep, that was a new sink in the bistro to bring us up to compliance. We had issues with the other sink there, so it's an all new stainless three compartment stainless steel sink and counter.
Okay, thank you. That was all mine. Do you have any bills?
Yeah, County Lockwood, 1822.96.
1822.96.
Yeah, that's my travel to go to Kama.
Sorry, did you have another Billy? Okay, so I was just wondering about 63252, which was the ecological logistics.
Yeah, that was the testing that we were required to do for the Wylake Trail stuff. So that's the oxygen testing and eDNA to determine that first Wylake is not a fish bearing lake.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
63255. That's like 3 months worth of services.
So that's a combination of stuff. So that's the contract. Some of that's contract wages for the treasurer, and some of that is janitorial.
Thank you. Okay, so if there's no further questions on the payables, I'll call the question. All in favor of passing the payables?
You have any, Laura?
I asked one already. Thank you so much.
You can use that last.
Yeah, you asked them all. It was great. Thank you. So next up, we have an admin report from the Housing Accelerator Fund that was in the council package. So hopefully everyone's had a chance to review that. CAO Lockwood, who's joining us. Sorry, I didn't mention this at the beginning. CAO Lockwood, who's joining us by Zoom, will speak to that. Please, CAO.
Yeah. So when the submissions were, council, as you know, approved those last intake. There was two that on that briefing report that came in that were denied. One was for Carlson's and the other one was for Brett Eisbister. Having follow-up review, there was a mistake on Carlson's application. When it was reviewed, they looked at the date on the development permit, which was 2023, but as some members of council may remember, there was a stop work put on that project and work didn't proceed. And then there was rezoning took place for that airport zoning so it allowed for the residents to go in. So hence the work and the building permit for Carlson's didn't get issued until September of 2024. So it was a compliant project that should have proceeded into the pool. So this request is to approve an additional $40,000 under the Housing Accelerator Fund. Administration does not have any issues with that extra approval because currently we know that there is some projects that were approved previously that will not proceed. So we do have the budget money to approve it, and it should have been considered in the first place. So that's the recommendation to council, is that council approves the payment of of the application of Carlson's to proceed under the Housing Accelerator Fund.
I make a motion to proceed with the additional $40,000 to approve Carlson's application under the Housing Accelerator Fund.
Thank you, Councillor Slager. Do we have a second?
No second.
Thank you, Councillor Wynn.
And Ken, thank you for clarifying that there was extra funding, because I wasn't aware of that, and that was on. Thank you.
Okay.
I just had a couple of questions
Sure.
on that. So at what point was the 23 permit deemed non-compliant with the zoning bylaw? And why was the permit issued to begin with? Like, for what purpose?
So the original application went in, your worship, and there was a mix-up based on zoning maps. Bylaw and administration staff looked at a map that was submitted by our consultants, who no longer do work for the municipality, that had the improper zoning on that property. So when I returned from holidays, I was brought aware of that there had been application approved. At that time, I met with bylaw and they issued a stop work, and then we met with the Carlsons and went through the stages of how they could make it compliant, because residents were not allowed under airport zoning. So there was an application went to council for a rezoning or for a zoning amendment to allow residents in that zone, and the previous council approved that zoning amendment, hence that Carlsons were now allowed to build their residence on that property.
Any other questions? Okay. Anything else? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor of passing the recommendation? Okay, well, that carries unanimously. Thank you. So next up, we have second reading of the fees and charges amendment bylaw 2025-04. So we discussed this at our last committee of the whole meeting for the first time. Some amendments have been made, I believe, since then. And so we're just looking for a second reading to bring it to the June 3rd committee of the whole meeting for another discussion, but I'm happy to have some discussion tonight as well if you would like to.
I didn't look at.
So I'll just ask for a motion.
I make a motion.
Thank you, and a second. Danina, thank you, and so now I'll open for comment. Thank you.
I mean, looking at all these bylaws, all in their entirety, everybody talks about everything differently, so I just kind of zoomed in on a few that I got. Because we talked about White Horses bylaw, their tipping fees changed. So I thought I'd look at that a little bit more closer, and then as well as the cemetery. So when I looked at the cemetery, I kind of compared it to Dawson's, only because the population wise we are closer to them. And I noticed one of the things, so internment of a cadaver, they have $663 each, whereas we're at like 600. And then the other thing
Those
is
for what? Davina, sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
cemeteries.
I know, but
I
what?
think she said, I meant to say internment of a cadaver.
Yeah.
That's what it says.
Oh, I just didn't hear what
She
you
just
said.
mispronounced it.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you. I just wasn't.
Anyway, and then, so outside of business hours is actual cost, and then when it comes to ashes, they talk about, they're charging like $460, we're charging 200. And then we don't have on ours, I noticed the cost of the plots, so they have the plots, ashes and cadavers, so, yeah. So I mean, we don't have that on ours that I noticed, so maybe that's something we should have.
No, it's in there.
Is it there?
It's in a different spot.
Is it a different spot?
Cheaper.
There's the plot purchase and then the insurance.
Oh, I missed that, okay. Anyway, so, yeah, so that's just what I was looking at there, and then. The dump, so looking at some of these fees here, like bulk items, we charge $11, they charge 50, if I'm reading that correctly, because there's all kinds of different ones, so. There's things like box springs, mattresses, and that, we charge 17, they're 20, so there's some of them that I just thought maybe we could look at and be somewhere similar, maybe? Like even like our animal carcasses, large, we charge 17, theirs is like 29. Scrap metal, small, $5 a load, they charge 40, it looks like. White goods, all but refrigerators, we charge 17, they charge 20. So some of them are small, but still, I think, there's a bit of an impact if we were to look at some of those. So that's just what I was looking at.
Sorry, CAO, do you have any comment on that? Just because I know that there was like talk about, tipping fees with the new landfill agreements and stuff, and weren't they all just increased, or have those,
wait.
lots of she's saying reflect those increases yet?
Yeah, so your worship, Whitehorse did just increase theirs, their bylaw is new. The scrap metal, we are low on, there's no doubt about it, but what we've been doing is deferring everybody to Scrappy Larry. So we're trying not to take it. Truthfully, scrap metal, definitely should be higher. After having Scrappy Larry in there and going through the trying to get rid of it. We are a little low on it. But the fact is, like I say, it's had a minimal impact because, like I say, we're diverting it instead of taking it because people don't want to pay if he'll take it for free, right? So that's yeah, mattresses we're close on. Those are, I hate to say it, but a real pain in the butt because they don't compact. And so even when you have a couple feet of dirt over them, you drive over them, it's like a big sponge. The ground goes up and down. So other than that, yeah, I think we're fairly competitive with the other communities other than Whitehorse, and Whitehorse is a whole different beast to us.
Oh, okay, I just compared it to Whitehorse. But there's so much stuff in there that we don't have in ours, it's hard to read it, like, it's really hard to read.
Does that just go in miscellaneous then? It just gets considered?
Tires, I mean, I didn't see anything on ours that really, well,
Yeah.
anyways. It's,
So,
there's
yeah.
tires there, sorry, but there's a lot of, there's just a lot of stuff there that, so it's hard to compare apples to apples, really, but anyway.
I thought
Yeah.
tires are free because they charge a point of purchase for the recycling fee.
Yeah, disposal fee or whatever, recycling fee.
That is correct, your worship. Those
So they're
fees
free to landfill?
are
Sorry.
yeah, we don't charge fees because the government charges it, and they're the ones that deals with them. They come and clean them up and haul them away.
Oh, well, okay, that's good to know, I didn't know that, so it's awesome. Anyway, so those were just sort of some of my thoughts.
Thank you for bringing those forward. That really gives us some things to watch out for and consider ahead of the next committee level meeting. So again, June 3rd, we will be discussing that again, so. Does anyone else have anything they want to contribute at this time?
Maybe if we just come to a mutual agreement that maybe we should raise our scrap metal prices just a little bit more, just to divert people more so to take it to Scrappy Larry if they could, like it's, I don't know, $5, $40, that's a big discrepancy, that's not like
Yeah,
17 and 20, that's $3, it's a big, that's, you know what I mean, but 5 to 40 is.
but like, where do they even get that
Where they
information,
get the
Cam? Do they like show up to the landfill with their scrap metal and they're trying to drop it off and you guys go, whoa, you know, this is how much it's gonna cost, take it over here, cause it's got like a.
I think most like
How does
major,
that?
most major things, like say you have a bunch of I-beams off of a trailer that you destroyed and trying to get rid of. You know that you're gonna get rid of it, and it's a heavy poundage, so you're gonna seek other ways to get rid of that.
Oh, okay,
You know what I mean, versus like somebody that's just like changing out some copper to PEX underneath their sink, they're not gonna worry about 2.5 pounds of copper, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, okay. I
But
just-
then there's unmixed loads, right? So which means that it's just a bunch of shit that you've thrown together from your yard into a wagon and you're taking it there,
And
right?
that's-
It's an
that's what
unmixed
that
load,
279.
right? So you've got metal in there, you got all kinds of stuff in there, right? So
So
we
then
get like that.
what I had issue is. They have sorted and unsorted, right? Whether you sort it by all wood and all this, goes in the same pile. They charge you different rates because you sorted differently.
Sorry, Cam, did you want to jump in there?
No, I was just gonna say that there is a different rate, so if it was metal that was in a load, that was unsorted load, then they would be charged at the higher rate.
No, you know what I mean, see, you'll up with like, if you show up with, say, drywall and some wood. And some insulation, they're gonna charge you for an unsorted load, and it just goes on different opposite sides of the hill. But the
Well,
same
it-
lot,
Well, it would be called, it would be construction demolition waste.
I know, like this,
yeah,
this is an example, like it's happened before.
Yeah,
It just makes no sense because it does go in the same pile in the end.
Pam, what
Yeah.
is actually hauled out of our dump? I'm not talking about the refundables, what is hauled, is there anything besides tires that's hauled out of our dump?
yeah, so all the paper, the cardboard, all that stuff, right? And with the new EPR that's coming online here by this fall, all that other stuff will be going. I can forward you, I thought you guys had got it, but I'll forward you an email that talks about the new EPRs and everything that's coming down the pipe.
Thank you. Any further discussion right now? Okay, hearing none, I will call the question. All in favor of passing second reading on this bylaw? Thank you. So that will pass. So moving on, we have a new bylaw. Up for first reading, which again will allow us to make it public and then talk about it again at our June 3rd, committee of the whole meeting. And this is the first reading of the building commitment restriction bylaw 2025-05, which is a bylaw to establish a building commitment restriction to set conditions to regulate the development of land, buildings and structures in the municipality. And I'm gonna ask CAO Lockwood to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yes, your worship. So this is a follow-up. As you've seen in your packages, the town had a letter that was provided to the government back in 2014, I believe was the date. I'm just trying to bring it up on my screen here. So in there, yeah, so it refers to a motion that was made at a February 4th, 2014 council meeting to put building restrictions on lots in the town of Watson Lake. So this is the policy that's been, or what we've been following up till this point. We've followed through administration's search through the old minutes and old bylaws and policies. We can't actually find anything to back up this document. So hence the reason of a new bylaw, especially with the new Francis Avenue lots coming online. We thought it was timely. I met with Yukon Government, Lands Branch, CS Lands Branch and EMR Lands Branch. And we felt it was timely that we actually had a bylaw that has teeth that we can force the government to enforce on our behalf on the new lots that are coming online.
So just for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it's when people buy lots and there's a time required, like a certain amount of time that they have to develop that property before they can take it back. But this
Yeah.
allows us to hold the government to actually enforce that, because otherwise we have properties that sit, with no development, but they're not for sale and they're not anything for
Yeah.
years and years and years, and then we end up with a housing crisis.
And your worship, like, just for clarity, these are only on new lots that are coming for sale through Yukon government or through the town. So if we had a vacant lot that we took on tax lien, we can enforce the same build requirements. In the past, we haven't been able to do that because there was no bylaw. But this doesn't affect other lots that are already purchased and sitting that other people own. This is only for new sale lots.
Or anything we take on tax lien. Anything older that we take on tax lien.
Yes, that's correctly. Yeah, with it, so this bylaw would be, we could actually have it put on the title that there's a commitment.
Speaking of Francis Ave lots, do we have a ballpark number? People keep asking me, when are those gonna be for sale and how much are they gonna be? Do we have a ballpark number that we can like quote people on? Maybe not quote people on, like, somewhere between here and here.
Yeah, so I had a meeting on May 15th, with both those, as I said. They've done appraisals on the properties, on all those lots. Their appraisals came in, and then this is appraisal. This isn't what the sale price is gonna be, so just take that in mind. The appraisals for the comparable lots in municipality were in between $38,000 and $40,000 for a comparable lot, vacant lot for sale. So they're gonna be working on that. It's gotta go to management board for approval, but they're hoping those lots will come in maximum 60,000 and hopefully less. They're hoping to maybe even hit that target of the 40, but that's all decided by management board, and it's right now it's an educated guess. Because people don't know what happens at management board and what goes on there.
And is that without water and sewer?
That's with water and sewer to the property line,
Okay.
and power, water, sewer, power,
Okay.
and phone all to the property line.
Thank you for that. So just to kind of steer us back to the agenda real quick, I'm still looking for first reading of the bylaw.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Thank you, Billy. All in favor? Thank you. So that'll pass. And we'll discuss it again June 3rd. And then second, lastly, Community Lottery Fund Committee approval recommendations. Are you still on that? Okay, do you mind speaking to those?
Well, the notes that we have in our package pretty much sums it up. If you took a gander at the remarkable succinct recollection of events that pertains to each one. No, I mean, I gotta hand it to the secretary there, Ms. Tiffany Lund there. She did an awesome job of
Time notes.
she did. I mean, like what they applied for, what the committee recommended, and the reasoning behind either saying yay or nay or for how much. The gist of the evening was they want to focus on groups rather than individuals. That's why the main reason behind the individual applications receiving none or less than what they applied for in the case of like little groanings. And so the other thing, the key thing for us, because we pretty much just kind of look at this and see if there's anything that's totally out of whack. Even the seniors who we funded quite frequently for $4,000 a year, we decided to only go with $2,000 a year. And we approved or are recommending disbursements for 16,690, which would leave us 11,500 for the following intake in the fall, and that usually covers things like the groups that have applied in the past that haven't applied yet, or various sports teams, ski hill, curling Bontsville. But definitely groups rather than individuals, and we're trying to get the most bang for our buck, so that's why we focused on exactly that. And if anyone has any other questions specifically to any one application, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Councillor Slager?
I like that there's new up and coming groups, which is great, it's like the soccer.
Yeah, that
The
was really
JS
awesome.
pickleball, and I like that you guys, you did, I could see that theme where you were looking at the people that hadn't applied in the past, whereas other people that have applied in the past, then, it's sort of like, share the wealth, so I like that.
There was one, not karate. Little Olympians. Yeah, martial arts. So what kind of, I mean, he's starting up, does he give you like a business plan, do they?
Wasn't really business plans, it's more like in the application, they had a bunch of things, like protective equipment, those face shields, those fake wooden
Does
swords
he
and
have an
stuff.
actual location where he's going to be doing this?
It's trying to get off the ground. And there's still a bunch of questions that need to be asked about like, such as like, who gets to go in? How do you decide who your 6 little Romans are gonna be? And there's a bunch of stuff that we have questions about. And that's kind of why we looked at it, $500 under our policy right now, unless we wanna change the policy, is the most that we can approve to a startup group.
I just wondered what criteria.
For a
Was
startup
required.
grant, it's basically a one-time startup grant, so it can be, it's $500 to facilitate just getting your group off the ground, and then from there. And like, they can apply again. That's the next
No,
stage.
I'm just,
Yeah.
yeah, and I understand that, I just didn't know what criteria do they have
So
to have
there's-
in order to request this?
I can also forward you there's a policy and the application form, which I actually think might still be in council folder from last time, but if you wanna look at it. There were a lot of questions the committee had about that application too, there were a lot of unanswered.
Yeah.
Which is the reason we decided to push more for the grant as
Yes.
opposed to the 4,000.
Because I mean, you never know, you could have 10 people that say you want to start something up and you're gonna give those 10 people $500 each, and that's, a fair chunk of change, so I just wondered what the criteria is.
No, it's
Fair. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, Billy? Anything? Okay, so I will ask for a motion to approve or not the recommendations from the rec advisory committee for the community lottery fund.
I will motion to approve the recommendations from the community level fund.
Thank you, a second? Okay. One of you, and all in favor? Okay, that passes unanimously, thank you so much. That brings us to councilor open forum, who would like to start?
Stephen, when I wrote something down. You'll find it.
Are we doing anything with the dry hydrants? What was the decision on that, Cam? Can't remember, sorry.
So the dry hydrants, we're still looking for funding opportunities for it. It is a gas tax eligible, but the decision was made when we started looking at budget stuff that gas tax was required elsewhere. So it's still a project that's sitting there, but it's like a $750,000 project. So there's all types of new funding coming out now that the government's settled. So we're gonna chase to see what we can find, and then permitting is gonna take us probably a couple years for sure to get through that stretch. So it's not a short-term project. It's something that's gonna take a long time.
And then we have both our trailers so far, the sprinkler trailers.
The structural protection trailers, both of them are sitting on that site, and they've actually done cross training with Wildland Fire this year, and then they did the demonstration. So
Just thinking, I remember the demonstration, I just couldn't remember if we had them both, I'm just thinking of fire season, that was all.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay.
I answered my own question when I looked at it, so.
Oh, okay.
Nothing
Billy,
for me.
anything? No, okay.
I had a question regarding credit cards, so do the authorized users require a PO before they use credit cards to purchase, and do they do those POs have to be approved? How does it work? They just automatically have a spending limit?
Yeah, so Kat can speak to that.
Yeah, so hopefully, sorry, I wasn't sure if I was muted or not. Actually we have about a 20-page purchasing policy that we can share with council again. It actually details how purchases are made. And it actually lays out the spending authorities for each one of the departments and whoever has access. It's very detailed and oriented, so it really lays it out. So, yeah.
Thanks, Cam. So I have one thing that I would like to mention, and that is that Minister Mostyn, who of course is the Minister of Community Services, is doing his community tours. We have finally secured a date, after a lot of back and forth, but it's going to be Monday, June 16th at 6 p.m. here in the council chamber. So that's for council, mayor and council to meet with Minister Mostyn. We're also working on getting the Minister of Justice down here with him at the same time. That's not confirmed yet, but if it's not, then we'll be meeting with them at a separate time, and that's to discuss, you know, all things policing, community safety, you name it. So it's been a long time coming. So we've made the request to have that meeting. So yeah, hopefully it'll happen at the same time as Minister Mostyn is down. If not, we will just meet with Minister Mostyn on June 16th and then meet with Justice another time. What else? I think that's all I have right now, but I just wanted everyone to be aware of that. And
You said June 16th?
June 16th, Monday, June 16th, yeah. And yeah, so that's it for me right now.
6, and we're meeting,
Yeah, we can send out it'll be down here in council chambers, okay, and I'll ask Cam maybe to, or Tiffany to send out a Google invite. For that, it'll be in your phone if you want. Okay, so that brings us to the end, so just looking for a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Second, all in favor? Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening.